David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, there was breaking news in the disappearance of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother. Tonight, the disappearance of her mother, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, is now being investigated as a crime. And just a short time ago, police now telling ABC News they believe she might have been abducted from her own home in Tucson without her phone, calling the home a crime scene. Tonight, what we've learned about this case will go live to the scene. Also tonight, the Jeffrey Epstein files, the anger after the DOJ accidentally released the names of nearly 100 survivors. The New York Times reporting dozens of images of young women nude were also released. Just in tonight, the verdict now in the case of the husband and father accused of killing his wife so he could have a new life with his au pair. That verdict just in. Tonight, breaking news from Minneapolis. The medical examiner now releasing the autopsy of ICU nurse Alex Pretti, calling it a homicide. And tonight, the new order from DHS that all officers wear body cameras in Minneapolis. There's also news on that 5-year-old boy taken into custody, making the trip now back to Minneapolis. Tonight, President Trump ordering the Kennedy Center closed for 2 years. What he says will happen now, the Kennedy family responding tonight. News this evening after the FBI raid targeting Fulton County, Georgia, taking 700 boxes and ballots. Tonight, news of this unusual call now. President Trump talking with those FBI agents after this scene. The images coming in tonight, authorities investigating a possible biological laboratory found inside a home. There are new images tonight from inside, authorities in hazmat suits, what they found, vials, and what they're being tested for. Tonight, we're tracking bitter cold and 2 new winter storms. Ginger Z is standing by. And America Strong tonight, take a look at this. It is so cold, they had to take emergency steps with the penguins right here in the U.S.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We do begin tonight with the breaking news in this deeply troubling case, the disappearance of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie's mother, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. Just a short time ago, the sheriff's office in Tucson, Arizona, telling ABC News that they now believe Nancy Guthrie may have been kidnapped while she slept. Savannah Guthrie's mother was last seen by her family, by Savannah's siblings on Saturday. She was then reported missing on Sunday when she didn't show up for church. Tonight, the sheriff saying Nancy Guthrie has no cognitive issues. This is not a memory issue. And they also add that given her physical limitations, that she wouldn't have walked more than 50 yards on her own. After searching her home, the sheriff tonight saying, quote, "We do in fact have a crime scene." And tonight here, there is also urgent concern because Nancy Guthrie doesn't have her medication that she takes daily. And authorities say she doesn't have her phone either. ABC's Trevor Ault leading us off from Tucson tonight.
Tonight, the heartbreaking mystery in Arizona. Investigators say Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie, disappeared from her Tucson home, leaving her cell phone behind. The sheriff's office telling ABC News they now believe she may have been kidnapped while she slept.
She did not leave on her own. We know that.
He says the evidence at the home tells them this was a crime.
We do, in fact, have a crime scene, and we're asking the community's help.
Guthrie lives alone at the house. She was last seen by Savannah's siblings Saturday night at 9:45. Friends alerted the family she missed church the next morning. The children checked the house and called 911, saying with Nancy's physical ailments, she couldn't have walked more than 50 yards.
Nancy Guthrie's home is deep in suburban Tucson, and a lot of the neighborhood is shrouded by this desert wildlife. It would make it tough to notice unusual activity going on. But there are cameras at the house and at surrounding homes that the sheriff says they are reviewing, hoping to crack this case.
The sheriff launching a massive search with help from the FBI, using dogs, drones, helicopters, and heat-seeking sensors. But by this morning, that search was pulled back.
They're going to step aside. We'll call them out again if we need to do more searching. But right now, we don't see this as a search mission as much as we do a crime scene.
Police say the Guthrie family wants everyone to know their mother has no cognitive issues and didn't just wander off.
Nancy Guthrie is of great sound mind. This is not a dementia related. She is as sharp as a tack.
But Nancy Guthrie needs prescription medication every day. Without it, they say her life is at risk.
Medication that if she doesn't have in 24 hours, it could be fatal.
Savannah has a close bond with her mother, often posting photos on Instagram. Over the years, Nancy Guthrie has joined her daughter on the show.
Mama, great job. Love you. Thank you.
Just 2 months ago, Savannah appeared with her mom from Tucson, where Nancy talked about why she stayed in Tucson all these years.
Just the air, the quality of life is laid back and gentle.
In a statement, Savannah Guthrie and her family encourage anyone with information to contact the sheriff.
And David, Savannah Guthrie says the family is focused on the safe return of their dear mother, and they and the sheriff are urging the public to come forward with any information or video that could be of use. We want to share the tip line that you can call. The number is 520-351-4900. Number's right there on your screen. They say no tip is too small. They are counting on the public to help find her. David?
Well, for those of us who know Savannah, Trevor, we're just sick about this. We're thinking about Savannah and her mother tonight and our friends up the street at NBC. Trevor, thank you. We move on to the other news this Monday night, to the Jeffrey Epstein files and the outrage growing at this hour after the DOJ accidentally revealed the names of nearly 100 survivors. The New York Times also reporting that dozens of images of young nude women were also released by the DOJ. What the survivors are demanding tonight, and here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, fresh anguish for nearly 100 victims of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein after the Justice Department accidentally released their names and reportedly some of their images as well. Today, attorneys for victims demanding that all 3 million pages made public last week be taken down, telling a judge every hour matters. The harm is ongoing and irreversible. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche has acknowledged mistakes were made.
Every time we hear from a victim or their lawyer that they believe that their name was not properly redacted, we immediately rectify that.
But previously anonymous victims say that's not enough. I have never come forward, wrote one woman, identified as Jane Doe. This is devastating to my life. Please, I'm begging you to delete my name. Tonight, fellow survivors like Danny Binsky speaking out.
For survivors who have never, ever come forward, this is heartbreaking.
And the New York Times reporting that DOJ published dozens of nude images of young women or possibly teenagers before taking them down when they were alerted. The latest DOJ release, which officials say is the last one, included hundreds of mentions of President Trump, most of them in newspaper articles. Trump and Epstein were friends in the 1990s. When Epstein was arrested in 2019, Trump said they'd had a falling out and hadn't spoken in 15 years.
They released 3 million pages. It's like this is all they're supposed to be doing. And frankly, the DOJ, I think, should just say, we have other things to do.
Trump has denied any wrongdoing, and the Justice Department has said they found no reason to charge anyone else with crimes. But tonight, a who's who of rich and powerful men forced to explain why they apparently maintained communication with Epstein after he was convicted of sex crimes. Everyone from Elon Musk to Giant's co-owner Steve Tisch to Trump's current Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to Britain's former Prince Andrew, who was pictured in these photos leaning over a young woman lying on the floor. All the men say they have done nothing wrong and insist they knew nothing about Epstein's crimes. But tonight, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer saying Andrew, who was stripped of his royal titles because of his entanglements with Epstein, should testify before Congress, saying Epstein's victims have to be the first priority. Tonight, DOJ says it has taken down thousands of pages of documents that may have included names and pictures of victims. A judge has scheduled a conference hearing for Wednesday to discuss whether more can and should be done. David, the victims say this is all causing them even more pain.
Pierre Thomas live in Washington tonight. Pierre, thank you. There was also breaking news at this hour from Minneapolis. The medical examiner now releasing the autopsy results of ICU nurse Alex Pretti, calling it a homicide. And tonight here, the new order from DHS that all officers wear body cameras in Minneapolis. There's also news tonight on that 5-year-old boy taken into custody, now allowed to return to Minneapolis, and ABC News was right there. Here's Matt Rivers.
Tonight, the medical examiner releasing the autopsy report in the killing of ICU nurse Alex Pretti, finding the official manner of death was, quote, homicide, shot by federal agents, later dying in the emergency room. And late today, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announcing, effective immediately, we are deploying body cameras to every officer in the field in Minneapolis. It comes after images of 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos set off a national firestorm. The little boy standing in his driveway, wearing that blue bunny hat and Spider-Man backpack after returning home from preschool. Liam taken into custody, his father, Adrian, arrested. Tonight, both are back home after spending more than a week in a federal detention facility in Texas, facing deportation. A federal judge ordering their release Saturday. And our John Quinones joining Liam and his father as they boarded a flight home in an ABC News exclusive.
¿Cómo está Liam? How is he doing? How's little Liam? Liam, ¿cómo estás?
Liam saying he's good. His father telling John Liam couldn't wait to see his mother and go back to school. He was afraid and having nightmares, his father says, adding he would tell me the police were chasing us. DHS says ICE did not target or arrest a child, claiming that when the agents went to arrest the father, he, quote, fled on foot, abandoning his child, forcing agents to take care of Liam. John asking Liam's father about the government's claim.
The government says you abandoned your son.
The only thing I did was yell, he says. I was walking a few feet ahead of Liam, trying to alert people who might come to help us. I would never abandon him.
And David, tonight we know that Liam is back with his mother. Meanwhile, the family lawyer says Liam's father is here legally pursuing an asylum case. David?
Matt Rivers in Minneapolis again tonight for us. Matt, thank you. We turn now to the verdict just a short time ago in the case of that husband and father in Virginia, accused of killing his wife so he could have a new life with his au pair. The jury finding him guilty on all counts just moments ago, and here's Mola Lengi.
Tonight, a Virginia jury finding Brendan Banfield guilty of murdering his wife and a stranger as part of an elaborate plot to start a new life with the family's au pair.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of aggravated murder of Joseph Ryan and Christine Banfield as part of the same act.
Banfield now faces potentially up to life in prison without parole. Prosecutors pointing to photographic and digital evidence, alleging Brendan Banfield posed online as his wife, Christine, to lure a stranger, Joseph Ryan, to the family home for sex in February of 2023, instructing him to bring a knife and zip ties so that Banfield could frame the stranger. Prosecutors alleging it was the husband who then shot the stranger and stabbed his wife.
I was able to see him stabbing her.
The family's au pair, Juliana Perez Magalhães, testifying as the prosecution's star witness, telling the jury Banfield told her he wanted to get rid of his wife. But Banfield later taking the stand in his own defense, claiming it was the stranger who killed his wife.
I saw him do a downward stabbing stroke, and that's when I fired at him.
And tonight, Fairfax County prosecutors calling the crime monstrous.
It's monstrous. I mean, that's really what it is. It's monstrous.
Well, David, that husband is scheduled to be sentenced in May. As for the au pair, as part of her plea deal, she previously pleaded guilty to manslaughter. Now that this trial is over, she'll be sentenced in the coming weeks, David.
All right, Mola Lengi on this guilty verdict tonight. Mola, thank you. Tonight, President Trump now ordering the Kennedy Center closed for 2 years. It was just weeks ago his hand-picked board for the center renamed it the memorial to JFK after he was assassinated, the Trump Kennedy Center. Tonight, the president says it will now close to be renovated at a cost of more than $200 million. Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, as audiences decline and artists pull out of performances, President Trump announcing he will shut down the Kennedy Center for 2 years for a top-to-bottom renovation.
It's in very bad shape. It's run down. It's dilapidated. It's sort of dangerous.
The Performing Arts Institution was conceived as a living memorial to President John F. Kennedy. Last year, President Trump declared himself as chairman. And about 6 weeks ago, the center's board, which he appointed, voted to rename it to the Trump Kennedy Center, a new sign going up the very next day. The president now saying the center will close in August for a $200 million makeover.
I'm not ripping it down. I'll be using the steel. So we're using the structure. We're using some of the marble, and some of the marble comes down. But when it's open, it'll be brand new and really beautiful.
Critics note President Trump made a similar pledge when he launched construction for his massive White House ballroom. He ultimately ended up tearing down the entire East Wing. Tonight, members of the Kennedy family outraged. Maria Shriver saying this is all happening because entertainers are canceling left and right, and that the president hopes closing the building will get everybody to stop talking about the fact that everybody's canceling. It comes as the president remains fixated on the 2020 election, which he lost. Even tonight saying this.
I won that election by so much. Everybody does it.
Last week, FBI agents raided the election office in Fulton County, Georgia, carrying out 700 boxes of records, including ballots. Tonight, sources tell ABC News President Trump personally spoke on the phone with those FBI agents. Sources say the call was arranged by the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who was there on the scene. President Trump lost Georgia in 2020. President Joe Biden defeated him in the popular vote by more than 7 million. And the Electoral College, 306 to 232. It wasn't close. The president now says elections, which the Constitution says are to be run by the states, should be nationalized. That Republicans should, quote, take over the voting.
The Republicans should say, we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting.
Tonight, the Senate's top Democrat sounding the alarm.
You think he believes in democracy? Does Donald Trump need a copy of the Constitution? What he's saying is outlandishly illegal.
And David, we're told Tulsi Gabbard was on the ground in Georgia at the request of President Trump. Those federal agents now going through the ballots and voting records from 2020. But again, the president lost that state. There were 2 recounts and the election was certified. David.
Rachel Scott live at the White House tonight. Rachel, thanks as always. Tonight in Las Vegas, authorities are investigating a possible unauthorized biological laboratory inside someone's home. The new images right here from inside the home tonight. The FBI is now testing vials recovered in the home to see if they contain potentially infectious and deadly viruses, including Ebola, Zika, and COVID. Law enforcement sources telling ABC News tonight they recovered 1,000 pieces of evidence. The homeowner is a Chinese national who was previously arrested in 2023. They say he owns dozens of other properties. They're now being searched, too. When we come back, Ginger Z is standing by right here, tracking bitter cold and 2 new winter storms now. They'll hit the Midwest and then again the Northeast. Temperatures at or below freezing from Florida to New York to Maine. So Ginger is standing by. She'll take us right through the track. Also a major break at this hour in the alleged kidnapping of female siblings 12 and 15. The suspect accused of meeting them on a popular app, according to authorities. We'll tell you about it in just a moment. And then the earthquakes tonight, rattling San Francisco. Multiple earthquakes. The images coming in right here. A lot more news ahead. We'll be right back. Well, here we go again. We're tracking the bitter cold and now 2 new storms tonight. It wouldn't be Monday without Ginger Z. Let's bring her in tonight with the forecast. Hey, Ginger.
Hey, David, 32 degrees sure felt good today in New York City. First time we've seen it in 9 days. You know, the longest sub-freezing stretch for Washington, D.C. since 1989. We're not going to be mild for long. Let's dive in. The freeze warnings are still up for tomorrow morning through South Florida. And then the same areas that just got snow, like Charlotte, that had their 3rd snowiest day on record, they've got rain to come. A little bit of snow in Virginia there. But then for us, by the end of the week, we'll see a little snow with a cold front and teens again for highs. David.
Ginger Z, we'll see you first thing in the morning on GMA. Thank you, Ginger. When we come back tonight, 2 teenage girls have been found. The suspect accused of meeting them on a popular app, what authorities want you to know tonight. And then the March of the Penguins right here in the U.S. Look at this. They had to take emergency steps. We're going to take you there to see the Penguins up close in a moment here. Don't go away. To the index of other news, a suspect under arrest tonight facing kidnapping charges involving 2 girls, 12 and 15, from South Florida. Authorities say he met them on the popular app Roblox, used by so many kids in this country. Deputies say the suspect communicated for months with the siblings. They say he allegedly drove 1,500 miles from Omaha to pick up the girls on Saturday. They were found in Georgia. The girls are safe tonight. This evening, San Francisco hit by earthquakes, more than 30 of them, the most powerful so far, a 4.2 magnitude quake. Tremors rattling buildings and stores, bottles falling from the shelves of this 7-Eleven in San Ramon, California. No injuries reported. When we come back here tonight, the March of the Penguins right outside New York City. You have to see this tonight. Tonight, the March of the Penguins. Turns out it's even too cold for them. America strong. Tonight, the March of the Penguins right outside New York City. The extraordinary sight. The temperatures, as you know, so brutally cold, the penguins have now been brought inside. This was the moment at the Long Island Aquarium. 20 African black-footed penguins walking, hopping down the steps there. They range in age from just a few months old to 20 years old. These African black-footed penguins from South Africa are endangered. Their care team tonight telling us they have fewer feathers than penguins from Antarctica. It turns out they like the cold, just not this cold, below freezing. When the temperatures drop beneath 30 degrees Fahrenheit, they bring the penguins indoors, sending us these new images tonight. The penguins safe and happy, and most importantly, warm. Right here tonight.
Hello, David.
Assistant Curator Maggie Seiler holding one of the penguins.
We have Cricket, one of our 20 African black-footed penguins that we have here.
Tonight they tell us they're watching the weather just like everyone else, hoping it gets at least a little warmer for these penguins.
They're all doing really well. They're doing fantastic in there. We really do hope that it warms up soon and we can get them back outside.
Well, thank you for taking care of those penguins, cuter than ever. And I'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted anchor in America, the most watched anchor in America. Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir the #1 newscast in America.